These ministers he's meeting with from Canada and Justin Trudeau, they're about to be wiped off the face of the map.
Welcome to Over Opinionated with yours truly, Jasmine Lane. Boy, oh boy, CTV has officially done their cringiest story of the year. I'm calling it, and it's only the fourth, as well as the cabinet meeting or threat, I suppose you could put it that way. Will Justin Trudeau step down? And we are saving the best for last, the most amazing story came out, and we've talked a lot about immigration and how weak our policies are, but the irony in this story is so hilarious. And there's one person who's facing a conviction that is currently undergoing the refugee asylum claim process and has fled to Canada. That is just so awesome, and it definitely has a lot of Liberal supporters squirming in their seats.
It's gone beyond pissed off. They just want an election, and they will wipe him right off the face of the political landscape in Canada.
CTV News posted this just yesterday, saying a family of 7 in Edmonton has found a way to spend less than $700 a month on groceries and gas. These are the heroes, by the way, of Justin Trudeau's times. These struggling, suffering Canadians who hate the situation that they are forced into due to poor policy, more bureaucracy, bad funding towards things that actually really need a lot more funding. This is who CTV News has dubbed the heroes, the newsworthy stories of the year so far. Yikes, we are off to a very, very rough start.
Here at the Kosh household, if they can make it at home, they will.
Once in a while we cheat on bread, because bread is a lot of work to bake, but in general, muffins, scones, cookies, everything is all from scratch.
With a family of 7 and only one income, cooking at home is one way to save money. Being smart at the grocery store is another.
Having as many kids as we've had to always try to make sure that we're doing the most cost-efficient grocery shopping we could.
According to a report by Dalhousie University, the average family of 4 is expected to spend nearly $17,000 on groceries in 2025. The Kosh family estimates they spend approximately $700 a month on groceries and gas. That's a total of $8,400 a year for the family of 7.
I think just having a base budget, this is how much I'm willing to spend on groceries, is a good idea, because then you've got a number to kind of stick to.
Before they head to the store, they plan. Using the app Flip, they look at which store has the best deals. They also consider if they can collect points.
And over the last 10 years, we have $11,000 in points that we've spent and got money, like groceries and gas and things with.
They also pay close attention to the fine print, particularly the price per unit for each item.
And you can really figure out what is the best value.
For the most part, what will be bought is decided before they head out of the door.
Impulse buying is probably the worst.
Home economist Jody Kashkar says one way to reduce that impulse is to shop online.
I'm buying the things and I'm looking at the choices online, but I'm not hitting the potato chip aisle.
Now, don't get me wrong. For this family, and I love, love, love big families. I'm the youngest of 6 myself. If I could have 12, I'd be happy. But the fact that this family who lives in Canada on a single income, I can guarantee you, presumably it's the husband of the relationship who is the earner. I could be wrong though, but presumably he works incredibly hard, like unbelievably stressed and overwhelmed to provide for his family of 7. The news story here is how good they've had to get at making their own food, which is totally fine. I appreciate anybody who can do that. And how good they've had to get at budgeting, looking for points and looking for coupons. Because if it weren't for those things, they would not be able to survive.
Chad Kosh wishes his family didn't have to budget this seriously.
Well, we just like to be able to go to the store and pick things up and afford them without having to have all that pre-planning,
But with the price of food expected to grow, he says it's just what they have to do.
Like, think about that for a second. It's just really crazy to see the stark difference in wage and the massive gap of what people can actually afford versus how much they're actually making and how far our dollar goes. And this was never the case before. Now, yes, certainly there has always been poverty. There have always been people who really, really struggled and had to work really, really hard and maybe didn't get as much as they worked hard for. But this situation, for this to be a news story on CTV, this is far from the only family who is doing things like this. And it's no wonder why so many people are opposed to having children. How the hell can you ever even dream, even if you really wanted, of having a family when you can't even afford your own bills because everything has gone up so much? And not only has it gone up, that's normal, that prices will begin to climb, but wages have not met that. Wages have not even met what is needed to keep up with inflation. And I absolutely commend this family. That is a lot of hard work that they're putting in because they have to, but it absolutely breaks me to know that there are so many people who are doing all the right things. You know, you're married, you're having children, you're getting a job, you're working so hard. And what is the reward for your hard work? Because wages have not increased at all with the cost of living. And the cost of living just keeps getting more and more and more expensive. And there's no competition either, which is why it keeps getting more and more and more expensive. And it's just become this really bleak, hopeless world that so many people have to look forward to. Is that something you can even look forward to?
First of all, Trudeau's got this carbon tax on the farmers who grow your food, the truckers who ship your food, the grocers who sell your food, which is a tax, therefore, on all who buy the food. He wants to quadruple that tax to 61 cents a liter, which will mean many, many people will go hungry. We've seen our food prices rise 37% faster in Canada over the last 4 years than they did in the United States because they have no carbon tax there. So I will axe the carbon tax to lower the cost of food and fuel. We also have to increase the purchasing power of our money. We're printing cash. Bottom line is we're growing the money supply, which causes inflation. We're printing money to fund irresponsible government spending. If you have an economy with 10 apples and $10, it's $1 an apple. You double the amount of money to $20, but your economy still has 10 apples. You're not twice as rich. It's just that now each apple costs twice as much. That's inflation. Our government has created $700 billion more cash in the last 4 years. That's a 40% increase in the money supply, during which time our output has grown by 4%. So we're growing the money 10 times faster than we grow the stuff that money buys. We have to cap spending and get the central bank back to its job of preserving the purchasing power of our people. Instead of adding more cash, we need to produce more of what cash buys. Grow more food, build more homes, produce more energy by unleashing the free enterprise system, getting off the backs of our farmers. So imagine, back to my analogy, instead of 10 apples, you have 10 apples and $10. Imagine if you doubled the number of apples you grow. You have 20 apples and $10. Now each apple is 50 cents. We have to produce more of the stuff that money buys rather than creating more cash. The same is true with homes. Right now we don't have enough homes. Why is it we don't have enough homes? It doesn't make any sense. We have 10 times as much land per capita as the next closest country in the G7. We have the second biggest landmass in the world, and somehow we have the fewest homes. Why? Because we have the worst bureaucracy. It takes 7 or 8 years to get a housing development. It takes 3 times longer to get a permit to build a home in Canada as it does in the US or the UK. And then there's the taxes on top of that. So who do you think pays for that? You pay for it. Why is it that your landlord can raise your rent? Because he knows you can't go anywhere. Why? Because there aren't enough homes. If there were more homes and there were vacancies, you go to your landlord and say, hey, I got options. Either you're going to make my rent affordable, or the new apartment complex down the street is going to do it instead. I'm going to pack my things and leave, and I'm going to pay my rent to him. But right now you have nowhere to go because it's impossible for that competitor to build his place. So we have to get the bureaucracy out of the way and let builders build.
And I know there's been so much talk lately. It's like a weekly rumor. Oh, Trudeau's stepping down. Trudeau's stepping down. Will he? Maybe. He has definitely been pushed a lot, but I have a really hard time believing that he will step down until the G7 summit that is taking place in Canada this year. Because that's his end all be all. That's why he's in government, really, to be a globalist. And the G7 summit is giving him all the opportunity in the world to be able to host that. And I very strongly believe that he will hold on for that moment with everything that he's got in him. But having said that, the Liberal Party themselves are revolting because they're all realizing that they don't have jobs soon. It's not because of his policies, of which they all supported. No, it's because they know that they're on the chopping block now and they're starting to get really scared and panic. So now they're going above and beyond to try to say, hey, Canadians, yeah, I know that I passed that thing and that I defended it in the House of Commons during question period, but don't associate me with that guy.
It's it's just one of those things where it's pretty clear that the Liberals and Justin Trudeau are both on the ropes. The Conservatives have more than 50% support in every single part of the country except Quebec.
And are these, like Mendicino announcing he's not seeking re-election, all these former cabinet and cabinet ministers saying they're not going to run again, does that have an impact on those numbers as well?
Well, it has an accumulation effect, Roger. It's kind of like death by 1,000 paper cuts. And why don't we just squeeze a little lemon on top of that every time, a former senior Liberal like Mendicino decides to not run in the next federal election. So right now, the narrative is nobody wants to run for this guy. Like, who's stepping forward to run as a new individual under Justin Trudeau? Roger, are we hearing crickets? I think they're crickets playing right now.
Now, there has been a couple names tossed into the hat. Some people are saying Mark Carney, which I'll be honest, how on earth could he even run for leadership when he's not even an elected official in any regard? That's so weird to me and also so creepy elitist of him to even think about doing. Gosh, he's so gross and embarrassing. If you think Justin Trudeau is bad, Mark Carney's been Justin Trudeau's puppet master. Same with Chrystia Freeland. And now Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland allegedly want to throw their hat in the leadership race. But let's think about that too. At minimum, or I suppose at maximum, we have an election looming sometime in October, right? It's possible it could happen around June. Who knows? Who knows how this is all going to end up? But that leaves very, very short periods of time for the Liberal Party to do whatever the hell they possibly can to try to sway Canadians back and get people friendly with whoever the future leader is. Chrystia Freeland, in many regards, is already kind of wiped off. People don't like her in Canada. A lot of insiders of the Liberal Party do like her, but if people know that that's going to be the leader, there's a good chance that they are not going to cast that vote. Mark Carney is one who a lot of Canadians aren't even familiar with who he is. It really puts them in this crazy crunch where, honestly, yeah, the best thing they probably could do would be to keep Justin Trudeau. Like, that would be the easiest thing to do, even though he's hated and they know that they're going to lose. But to go through the process and money of having a leadership race within the party in such a short period of time when you're still likely to lose anyway, what's the point of that if you're just looking at that analytically?
People are leaving and not running and not reoffering to run under the Liberal banner. And right now, it's almost like a countdown to when he might step down. Yeah, I think we're at the point now, Roger, where the only thing left for the Liberals to try to get back in the game, not saying they'd even be competitive, is to change the leader. Because they've tried everything else from a policy perspective, messaging. They've tried attacking Pierre Poilievre, attack ads, all that kind of stuff. None of it stuck and none of it's worked. The only thing left is to change the leader. It'll be interesting to see, because I know Mark Carney has been kind of sending out some feelers again that he may be interested in running. But boy, oh boy, they got a big plate there that they've got to deal with.
Now, this right here might just be one of my favorite stories I've read in a very long time, to be frank. You remember the whole thing that took place in the U.S. at Capitol Hill?
These barricades being removed by police officers so these people can get inside the Capitol building. And then there were others, Capitol Hill police officers, just standing by. Just welcome to the Capitol. What was all of this about?
Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down.
Oops, sorry, wrong footage.
We need more munitions. Let's go. Shoot it. Go. Shoot.
And you know how Canada has such a weak immigration policy that's let in all kinds of criminals and people who have been caught on film doing terrible things to other human beings and plotted our demise and then got busted not from our own authorities but from French authorities? Well, there's another one. And this one, as much as I'm annoyed at the taxpayer money that's going to be going to this individual, this is just so ironic and awesome. And it makes me laugh even more so because there's so many people on the left who will say like, oh, what do you mean Canada's borders aren't that protected? What are they protecting us from? And I'm like, you're an idiot. This is a story just posted yesterday. An American citizen convicted of participating in the January 6, 2021 riot on Capitol Hill and dodging jail time in Whistler may just be the start of an asylum-seeking rush.
Do you consider yourself a fugitive is the big question.
Yeah, but I'm also, I think by definition, a convention refugee.
Anthony Vo acknowledges he was at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, and has publicly posted photos from that day with his mom. But he says the 9-month jail sentence is unfair and he's in the process of seeking asylum.
I'm in Canada because I'm being politically persecuted by the Biden regime in America. They want to put me in prison for me, it was a totally peaceful protest.
Vo claims he expected adequate security that day and was supporting the president he continues to admire.
Trump requested for people to come to Washington, D.C. on January 6th for the Stop the Steal rally.
And insists that neither he nor his mom did anything wrong.
Prosecutors didn't produce any evidence that he himself had been violent, and he since fled. He fled the U.S. to get out of going to jail. And he's probably one of many, but it makes me laugh because there's all of these people who like absolutely loathe Donald Trump and they loathe Pierre Poilievre and they totally support Justin Trudeau's policies and the way that he's handling everything. And I'm like, how can you? Do we live in the same country? And then now Justin Trudeau's failed policies are protecting a Donald Trump supporter who was at the Capitol Hill incident. And I just think that that is absolutely priceless. What do you think about that one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated, and I will talk to you tomorrow.